Hey, it's Ollie, and in this video I want to address a question that came from one of you guys, from the community section of this channel. I believe it was Patricio who asked, when is the right time to stop learning a language? This is a question that I have to say I really struggle to understand, because I've only had to deal with this once, and I think this really comes down to your reasons for learning the languages that you're learning. Okay, now I've only actually come face to face with this question once, and I'll tell you what happened with that in a little while. But for me, I think one of the determining factors of all my languages that I've decided to learn in the first place has been that moment of decision where I've said, right, I'm going to learn this language. Every language has had a very specific, quite fundamental, deep reason for me to start learning it in the first place. I don't learn languages out of academic interest or as a kind of hobby or as something to keep myself busy with. Not at all. Language learning is not like that for me. I treat language learning much more as something that emerges from my life, and the learning of that language kind of presents itself as a benefit in my life. The aim of language learning is never the language for me. It's always about what I get with that language, and in my case it's always access to people or communities of some kind. That's my why for learning languages. So it all started first time around for me in 1999 or 2000. I was 19 years old and I went to live in Paris, and so learning French was obviously a very instrumental thing for me to want to do in order to be able to lead my life in Paris, being able to communicate with people in French. After that, the various Romance languages that I learned were all actually in London, in the UK, but they were because I'd made friends and joined communities of people who spoke those languages. And so again, my reason was in order to interact with those people and learn more about them, and the language was the means by which I could do that. Later on, when I went to learn Japanese and Cantonese or Arabic, it was because I was living in the country and I had that instrumental reason to learn. But also because of the time I spent there, I got to know the people and the culture better, and so it would just, it was very connected to my real life in a very personal way. So obviously in each of those languages I've reached different levels. Some of those languages I've got to quite high levels of fluency in. Others I haven't got that far at all, really, maybe kind of an A2 lower intermediate type level. But in each of those cases, not once has it occurred to me that I would stop learning a language or not use it again. There are certainly times when I've stopped learning, but that has been not because I've made the decision to stop learning, but because I've, say, moved country. So for example, when I left Japan, I stopped actively learning Japanese, and yet I still use it from time to time in the UK or abroad when I meet Japanese people, and of course here in Japan now when I travel back from time to time. And in the case of Japanese, like coming back here has rekindled this desire for me to learn and the passion for the language, and I plan to pick it up and carry on. So even though I haven't spoken much Japanese for the last 6 years or so, I don't see it as stopping at all. I just see it as the natural flow of things. I think often people try to make sense of the language learning game, the journey of learning a language. They try to rationalize it, but I think the truth is, for many people who are heavily invested in languages like I am, we don't think of it in these terms. We follow certain paths based on other factors in our life. And like I said, for me, it's much more about what's going on in my life, both in terms of starting a language and then maybe stopping using it for a while. And so every language, whatever state it's in, it's an unwritten book. There's no conclusion, there's no final chapter. The rest is yet to be written, and the beauty of all this is that I don't know when that will be, or who it will be with, or why, or for what reason. It all remains to be decided, and my life will dictate that in whatever direction it goes in, which, based on the last few years, is completely unpredictable anyway. But there was one time that I decided to stop learning a language actively, and that was with Thai. So a couple of years ago I went to Thailand and I did a 2-week project. It's all on YouTube. You can go to my channel and look in the playlists, and I documented my 2-week project to learn Thai. And I got quite far. I did pretty well in those 2 weeks, but then when I went back home I had to make a decision. Okay, am I going to keep this up and continue this or not? and my level was such that I couldn't do very much with it. I could have basic conversations, but that was it. And so the implication of continuing to study Thai for me meant actively dedicating time to it every day and every week and every month. And I kind of stopped and checked myself after a few months of this, and I kind of realised that I was resisting it. Whenever it came down time to plan the week and decide how I was going to use my time, there was something inside me that was resisting it. And I think it's because I realised that I was doing it out of a sense of obligation and out of a sense of belligerence, perhaps not wanting to be seen to fail or something like that. The reality was that Thai had no meaning for me in my life back in London, and I also hadn't got very far with it, so I couldn't really use it for pleasure so much. There was a lot more work to be done. And so I kind of said to my teacher was like, should we program some more lessons in? And I said, look, I've got to be honest, I think I just don't see myself using this language at any point in the near future. So I think it's really best that I wait until I'm next back in Thailand, and then maybe we pick it up again. And I was kind of obfuscating there, I think, because really deep down, I think I knew that I wasn't going to carry it on. There were just not enough hours in the day. There were too many languages, too many other things to do. And so I took that active decision to stop learning Thai. And the core reason for that is that it simply doesn't mean enough to me in my life. And so when I hear from people who say, I'm thinking about stopping learning this language and moving on to another, I think really what's called for here is a very honest reflection about why you're learning that language in the first place. Is it a project that's meaningful for you? Are you going to be able to actively use this language in your life? Is it going to enhance your well-being and make your life better in some way? Is it going to play an active part in your day-to-day life? Do you have enough passion for it? Do you care enough? That's what it comes down to. And I think you have to ask yourself this question very, very, very honestly. And for many people, I think the answer will probably be, look, I've picked up this language out of a sense of curiosity, but then I'm coming to terms with the fact that actually it doesn't mean that much for me in my life. And in those circumstances, I think, life is too short. If it's not something that you're passionate about, that you care about, don't feel bad about stopping that, moving on to a different project, because when you find that thing that you care about and you're passionate about, all these questions become completely academic because you'll just do it for the pure love and passion of it, and no one will be able to prevent you from carrying on and stopping. So those are my thoughts on this topic. I think it's a difficult one, a difficult question to grapple with, but it's highly personal. I think what's important is always to avoid this, what's known as a sunk cost fallacy. So the idea that because you've put lots of time into it so far, therefore you have to carry on. That's rarely a very profitable way of looking at things. So a bit of honest reflection and bravery and courage, I think. So I hope that was useful. If you like these videos, you'd like more like this, then please hit subscribe so that you can stay up to date with new videos. And I'll see you back for the next video in, I don't know, sometime this week.